we really want to focus on a recovery update, especially on investments in infrastructure. I will hand it off to some of our colleagues in county government. Zendo Kern, Planning Director, will facilitate this next conversation. He is joined by Ikaika Rodenhurst from the Department of Public Works, who will talk about roads. Keith Okamoto from the Department of Water Supply, who will talk about water infrastructure. He's also joined by Kurt Inaba and Kavika Uyahara, and Morris Messina from Parks and Recreation. And also want to acknowledge other county leaders who've joined us this evening. Doug Adams from the Department of Research and Development, and John Ando from the Mass Transit Agency. If I am missing anyone, I'm scanning the participants as best I can, but really excited to transition to this next conversation. As we get into it, I really want to remind everyone, if you have a question, please drop it in the chat. I'll be facilitating questions with our panel as we move on to this next section. And so with that, I'd like to hand it over to Zendo.
Thanks, Douglas. Zendo Kern here, Planning Director. Pleasure to be here tonight. I was born in North Kohala, grew up in Puna. Most of my life was spent in Puna, and yeah, it's very near and dear to me. Lower Puna, Pohiki, etc. I want to, really thank our co-chairs, thank our community members, thank all of you for being here. Thank the Kilauea recovery team for all the hard work that's going on. Want to thank Ashley Kirkowitz. Our partnership with her is invaluable, bringing this together. So great event. It's a pleasure to be here and watch, actually. Now we're going to get into some really good stuff. Just before we get into the updates on where the investment monies, where the recovery money's being spent, etc. I wanted just to shout out that, from the planning department and Kilauea recovery, we're working diligently on facilitating as much as we can, working with our partners. And an area that's always challenged is communication. It's no matter how hard communication is really underscored and how hard we try, I still feel like we come up short. So it's something I want to share with you folks. We're going to continue to ramp up our communication, and I'd like the feedback on that. Even hearing that there's gaps is really helpful. So we really want to hopefully over the next few weeks you'll come back and say, or months, you'll say, okay, we got it. We got a good amount of saturation. We hear you. We are understood. We're going to try some other some alternate forms of communication as well. We're doing press release. We're doing writing. We're also going to work on some videos to try to bring in just a different form of communication that's not typically in county government. So we're excited about that. Through this process, we're going to have, right now, we're going to have the directors present, give an update on it. At the end of that, we'll go through the Q&A and go through that process. So without further ado, we will start with Ikaika Rodenhurst, Director of Public Works.
Mahalo Zendo, and mahalo everyone for having me on. Just a really quick update. We have submitted our designs for review and for EA review for Pohiki Road and Highway 137. Those are currently with FEMA and they are being reviewed. We've been told that this process can take at least 6 months for the Pohiki Road. That'll encompass both the upper and lower portions, which are the lava inundated and the realignment of the lower portion of the road. So right now we're going through our list and making sure we have a schedule moving forward that will encompass anything that might come of that review, and making sure that we have anything left hanging while we're waiting for this review, that it's completed and put in there. I'm happy to take any questions, and right now that's just what we're looking at. Following that, we are looking into alternate projects in case there are any funds available after these roads, and we will be keeping you posted as those come along. So that's the update I have for roads right now, and happy to take questions and give more information later on. Mahalo.
Yeah, thank you, Ikaika. Appreciate the update, appreciate all the hard work. Really feel like we're getting some traction going with FEMA, and those meetings and the partnership is increasing, which is really, really critical, and really appreciate the work that we're all doing together to keep this moving. we'll move over to Keith Okamoto, the Manager Chief Engineer for Department of Water Supply.
All right, good afternoon or good evening. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, first of all, I want to give kudos to, Ashley, Douglas, Zendo, all you folks actually for the efforts that have been put into this Revitalize Puna series and the various events taking place. I want to thank you for your patience with us. It took us a while to get here, but it was for good reason. We really wanted to know, to make prudent decisions. We really had to wait to see some of the outcomes of the buyout program. And then, once we saw some of those results, hard work of our staff here at the Department of Water Supply, we came up with a list of about 13 projects that all of our funding is what FEMA's considering alternative procedures or alternate projects, 428 classification basically. So here's a list in front of you. Pohiki Waterline Road Replacement is the one going down from the triangle, basically following Department of Public Works Pohiki Road project all the way down to Isaac Holly Beach Park. We're also looking at alternate service boat wash spigot site in case, for whatever reason, the water line to the boat ramp is undoable because of the subsurface temperatures. That's a possible alternate project. So at least that the boat users, once the ramp is reconstructed, they'll have a place to wash down their trucks. Kalapana Waterline Remediation is something that we've been needing to do for a while. We have a leaking water line that's really, really deep because of the 80s lava flow. And basically we need to reconstruct that water line at a shallower depth, eliminate that leak and make sure that we're not wasting that precious resource. Nana Valley Waterline Road Improvements is basically creating a loop system within Nana Valley. Right now we have a dead end system. And we've been talking about resiliency a lot, especially in lower Puna. And for water supply, resiliency essentially equates to redundancy, which for a water line is a loop system. So if you have a main break, you're not cutting off the rest of the system. You can backfeed it from the other portions of the loop, basically. Post Office Road Waterline Improvements is another project that we're coordinating with Department of Public Works. If there's thoughts to improve that roadway section, it would be prudent to also consider a water line in that roadway segment. Hawaiian Paradise Park Waterline Improvement, similar to Nana Valley, but what we plan to do here is to take the water line from the end of the Maku Hawaiian Home subdivision, run it through Hawaiian Paradise Park, connect up to the 12-inch water line running down Paradise Drive, and come across in the Hilo direction where there's a 20-acre parcel owned by the county, and then come back up to Kealpahoa roadway via Kaloli. So that again is a loop system. We currently have a water main coming down the highway, and again, similar to what was mentioned for Nana Valley, this will provide us additional resiliency in case there's a main break. We can continue to feed the area through the loop system. Chao Wells is a pair of wells that is actually to replace two wells that we've had to abandon. We had two wells that was by the old Helco power plant near the bottom of Milo Street. And because they were constructed substandard, they were subject to potential contamination from subsurface contaminants, flows from cesspools, whatnot, hitting the well column, traveling down into the groundwater. So that's of course not a good thing. So we decided to abandon those wells, and this project would be to replace that. Chao Well B Phase 2, that's basically a part of that other project mentioned above. Is just for a potential second well at that same location. OLA number 6 generator is basically emergency generator in case electrical power goes out. And the transfer switch is essentially a plug and play type installation where we can take a generator, bring it to the site, and plug it into our control building fairly simply without having to do a whole lot of retrofitting or wires during an emergency. OLA number 3, well B, is another well that we're looking at near our tank site near Kamehameha Schools. Again, this is additional redundancy for the system. These wells in OLA, the Kau area, also have the ability to feed water all the way back to Pahoa through the water line we do have on the Kau Pahoa Road. So we already have a fairly robust set of sources in Pahoa. We have more sources. I think we have 4 total wells in the area. So those are normally very, more than enough to supply the needs in the Pahoa area. But should there be a situation either due to earthquakes or other natural disasters where those sources are cut off, these additional wells in the Kau Ola area will additionally help us, will serve as redundant sources, not just for the Kau area, but for Pahoa as well. A couple tools that we're looking at is insertion valve tool. Basically, this is a way for us to drop a valve in to a main line without having to really cut open the roadway a lot. It'll be able to allow us to valve off areas quicker. And then last but not least is Scada control improvements. Basically, that's electronic means to operate or monitor your system remotely. So you don't have to actually physically be on the site to be able to operate the well or booster station components. So all in all, these projects total about 55 million. We wanted to create a list of projects that actually exceeded the FEMA allotment because we did not want to take the chance of underestimating and leave money on the table, basically. So as with everybody else, I'll be standing by, happy to answer questions later. And I believe the recovery team and Ashley is working on a follow-up meeting just to discuss water projects sometime later in the month, I believe.
That's right, Keith. I'll announce that in just a moment. Zoe, can you put the slide up that shows the locations? Just to give everybody a kind of a view of that list that Keith ran down. Those are the general locations. Let's absorb that for a moment. While that's up, what we'll be doing is we'll be doing a specific meeting on getting feedback related to the various projects, alternate projects. That will be on October 28th at 3:30. We will just contact Douglas or Ashley's office. We'll be getting information out for the Zoom link, etc. It'll also be on the lava recovery website. So if you want to attend or know folks that want to attend, please share and please do attend. Thank you very much, Keith. Sure we'll have some questions for you coming back around in a moment. Okay, moving on to the update from Parks and Rec. We have Director Maurice Messina on the line here. Turning the floor over to you.
Okay, thanks, Zindo. Appreciate everybody giving us the opportunity to present this. I want to start off with, so everyone understands that our proposed projects have been through numerous reiterations, even as much as today. After speaking with Ashley and Zindo in the mayor's office and a few others, and talking about the reimagining of Isaac Holly. One of the biggest big ticket items, or one of the big ticket items that we have for Isaac Holly right now is about $750,000 earmarked for a self-sustained water system. If we can get the water line back down there, like Keith was talking about, that's another $750,000 that we're going to be able to use at the park. Internally, we've been discussing everything from more pavilions, parking areas, a possible oil water separation area near the boat ramp. But just keep in mind, anything that we do down there is going to require it's going to require us to have everything to be ADA compatible. You can see also that we have a large portion for departmental equipment. Some of you may not realize it, but for instance, when the Pahoa District Park was created, what we did not receive in our department was any manpower or any equipment to maintain that park. And it's the same thing at Isaac Hale. We're very short in Puna area, along with other areas as well, for equipment. For instance, we don't even have a rubbish truck right now in Puna to take care of the rubbish. So a large portion of as well is for departmental equipment. Other Puna projects are things like we want to resurface the only tennis court that we have in Puna, which is the one at Shipman Park. We have a lot of teams that use that and a few others. But we did change up our projects again to put more of the money that we had to go down at Isaac Hale. 2.86 million is our current projection. But like I said before, we're continuing to work that with administration and with the recovery group to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row and that we are meeting the community needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Maurice. Appreciate that. Or as I say, Mo. Thank you. Okay, we were gonna round out in the Q&A, but we have John Ondo online, our Mass Transit Administrator. Wanted to give him the opportunity for a quick update. John, you're gonna get the floor for a brief moment. Trying to keep track of time. We're running a little bit over, so just wanted to give you the opportunity for a quick update.
Thank you, Zendo. John Ando, Mass Transit Administrator. And just wanted to give you an update on some of the things that we've been doing in the Puna District. On September 5th, we've launched the recommendations that were in the Transit and Multimodal Transportation Master Plan. So we've doubled the transit services in the Puna District, which includes 7-day-a-week service on Route 40 between Hilo and Pahoa, a new 401 that services Pahoa to Hawaiian Beaches, Nanavali, and Seaview, a new 402 that services Paradise Park, Orchidland, Kayal, and a new 403 that services Fern Acres, the zoo, and Kayal. We're also studying expansion of the 401 into Leilani Estates to restore transit services that was operating previous to the eruption. We also have a partnership with the Department of Education for students that live in the Pahoa area and island-wide that need to get to school, and you can have DOE pay for your bus pass, your student's bus pass, by simply applying with the DOE Student Transportation Branch. And then we also have a partnership with Uber. If you need to get vaccinated and have not been vaccinated, we will pay $15 of your transportation each way to and from the vaccination clinic up to 4 trips by downloading a voucher on the helionbus.org website. And I'd like to thank you for allowing me to give this update.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Appreciate all the hard work that you're doing. Okay, so we're going to move into Q&A, the fun part. So I know there's a couple that came in through the chat. Douglas, you're aware of those. Can you bring up
Sure.
the couple that came in through chat related to roads? And then what we're going to do is we'll open up the floor to chat. Douglas will call out the person. I'll open it up, and then we'll get into the actual Q&A.
Great. So the first question we have is from Jacob Turner. What is the desired outcome of the specific road projects? Access, efficiency, etc.?
So our outcome for our roads is for circulation and access in the community. These are some of the main lines in this area. These are the roads that are going to get you into Pohiki as well as alternate access outside of it. So that's why we have 137 going north and south from Pohiki. And that's our intent right now, is to provide access to Pohiki and to the greater community in the area.
And Douglas, I believe we had one more regarding 137.
That's right. So Deb Smith asked about the timing for 137. Will 137 be done at the same time? And is that relative to our work that's also underway with Pohiki Road?
So 137 will be reviewed independently of Pohiki at this time. FEMA has the available staff to review both projects independently and concurrently. Whichever one finishes first is really the one we're going to start addressing as much as possible. Just want to caution, Pohiki has the lower portion is not at final design, so that part would lag behind. But as far as 137, once it passes FEMA's approval and the EA process, we will go through the process of getting a contractor on board and getting that work out.
If I may just add on to that a little bit, you know, one of the situations with FEMA was that they were looking at a real linear process, you know, look at one project, wait, look at the next project. And obviously we ran into some FEMA challenges, don't agree with exactly how they wanted to do Pohiki Road, but it was what it was. And through the conversation and through the dialogue, FEMA is basically saying that they will do projects concurrently. So we have a contractor on board, they're looking to do projects concurrently. So it's a really big win. While we might have had a bit of a setback on Pohiki Road, we'll be able to review 137 Pohiki Road, upper, lower, and the other area of 137 simultaneously. So at the end of the day, it's hopefully a bit of a net zero loss, and it kind of comes together at the same time. So happy about that. Okay, I think that covers, so what's going to happen is Douglas will cover the chat and call and let me know questions there. And I'm going to call people who want to ask any questions. Just use the raise your hand function. There's enough people here that I think that should bring you to the top of my page so I can see you. That would be in reactions on the bottom. If you press reactions, you will have the raise hand button. I'm not seeing any raised hands yet, which is,
Yep.
Am I missing it? Do I need to scroll?
As
Well,
folks take,
I see Eileen raising hands, but not with the raised hand button. I got that. One moment, Eileen. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing the buttons. Okay. I'm not seeing anybody. I got one there. We'll go with Eileen first and then followed by Heather. If you're speaking, I cannot hear you.
Sorry, I was multitasking. Maybe people don't know how to use the reactions. The reactions is the raised hand.
No.
I don't know.
I'll work with that too. No worries.
Yeah, I was in the process of typing out a very long question, and it's to Maurice. Is he still here? Yep. Okay, Maurice. It has come to my attention that I know that you received 400 to 500 million for work that was meant to be recovery of and possible improvements to Pohiki Park, the county's park there. I believe the main component that we lost there was the children's playground, if I'm not mistaken. But we have always had and will continue to have, given the current plans to recover the channel, a problem with a safe swim area for the keiki. And there was even a move a few years ago to possibly establish a HPD substation down at Pohiki. There's a lot of improvements that could be done to Pohiki now that we know that the water department is going to try to bring water down there again, and the state is working to do the boat ramp. But I heard that this money had been reallocated to the Hilo Muni Golf Course. And nothing against golfers. I don't happen to be one. I'd love it if you would build a bowling alley out here in Puna, but anyway, seriously, that doesn't seem like a good use for recovery funds that are meant to help the people of Puna recover from this massive destruction of 2018. And there's COVID money that's been unused, lots of it. And it seems like golf would be better suited under COVID funding. It's an outdoor activity and distance and all of that good stuff. I think that could be justified. So why would we use recovery funds for the Hilo Muni when we can be using COVID funds, I guess is the question.
Okay, well, I can't speak about the COVID funds. That's something that the finance director could speak on. But my charge is to try to provide, so with these recovery monies, try to provide, access to recreation for the folks of Puna. Yes, we have earmarked about $180,000 for 2 large mowers for the Hilo Muni. Our numbers show approximately 30% of our golfers are from the Puna area. And it's just like everything else. We're so far behind. We don't have the equipment to maintain our areas that we have. And so that is why, we earmarked about 180,000. That originally was around 500,000. But after speaking with Ashley, Zindo, the mayor, and others of the recovery team, we drew that back even further and put that money towards Pohiki. We have people moving to Chao, we have people moving into Fern Acres where I live. We have, all from Pohoa that were affected by the lava. So we're trying to ensure recreational services do continue for all the people affected by the lava. It's not just at Pohiki. To speak of the talk about the playground equipment, yeah, it was destroyed. In fact, we still have a few poles sticking out of the lava right now. And once Ikak and these guys can get the Pohiki Road open back up, and we know there's going to be a great influx of people coming back down to Pohiki. But we gotta look at what's the proper playground equipment down there. The playground equipment that was down there is basically affected by the salt water. So we also need to look and say, okay, what's the best playground equipment for the area that won't be so affected by the salt water? That answers the question, I believe.
Thank you, Mo. Okay, Heather. We'll go to Heather and then we'll bounce back to Douglas for a question in the chat.
I'm sorry, I didn't get a full answer. What was left of the allocation, Maurice?
What do you mean?
You say 180 was diverted to the Hilo Muni. What is left for Pohiki?
2.86 million.
Thank you very much. Heather?
Aloha mai kako. My name is Heather Kaluna. I just had a question about the boat ramp and future plans for Pohiki. Just given, I just saw an article today about future projections for Honolulu, given the sea level rise. And this is obviously a growing problem for our island community, and how much of that is being taken into consideration for these plans.
Sure, I can speak to that probably a bit. Sea level rise is being taken into account for all plans. Any application, any plans, we're looking at sea level rise, whether it be adaptation, mitigation, etc. Obviously, when you're close to the coast and you're dealing with the coast, we have to anticipate for the water coming up and the water hitting those areas. So we'll be working with our partners to make sure that it's a sound plan, and that in these number of years. We have the optionality that's needed for that area, so it is being considered. And I think right now, what the community and the RCAs are going to go through is some envisioning for down there. I don't think the envision is set. Obviously, I think that needs to continue to go forward with the envisioning of that area. But I just wanted to say that anything we're looking at these days along the coast, we're really looking at sea level rise and how that will affect anything.
Mahalo.
Thank you. Douglas, we'll move to you with a question in the chat.
Sure. So we have a couple we definitely want to get caught up on. The first one is for water supply. From Paul, will Pohiki Road water line replacement be a looped system?
Great question, Paul, and the answer is no. Yeah, that's one that basically it's gonna terminate at Isaac Hale.
Thank you, Keith.
Great.
One more from you, Douglas, then we'll move up to Dave.
Okay, great. So a question for roads. Thanks to the county road crew for mowing Cinder Road. Has the county any plans to help maintain or take over Pu'a Road, Noni Farm Road? Current owner of the road wants to sell or release the road. Many property owners along that road have legal access issues. If you can touch on that, Ikaika.
Yeah, so there's currently no plans to take over that road, but happy to have a discussion. If there's some more details that want to be submitted, we can take a look at what we can do.
Yeah, and for these types of questions, if we can't cover all the details, we ask participants to please not only respond to a link that we're going to drop soon, kind of coming out of this Q&A, kind of thoughts and sentiments, but there's also an opportunity to capture your questions and details like this one that we can definitely look deeper into. Yeah, thanks, Sendo.
Yeah, thanks for that point. We will not get through everything, I don't think. Dave Webb.
Yes, hello. My question stemmed from the beginning of the Zoom meeting, and they talked about the CDFA, and I just wanted to make sure I understood correctly. I thought they said the CDFA was providing like $225K for some preliminary research and writing of grants. Is that correct?
That is not exactly correct. I'll let Ashley answer that.
Yeah, thanks, Director. Dave, the $225,000 is from USDA. That is a grant award through the Rural Placemaking Innovation Challenge, or RPIC. CDFA is providing us technical assistance. They have their own separate grant from USDA. They're helping us to create a financing roadmap. It's great that they are on board because they've seen we have capacity to apply and administer federal dollars. So that is just, it's really exciting that we have them as a partner.
And so what was the $225K for from USDA?
It is to support these community activations that we are doing and all of the different co-chair updates you heard earlier. They're talking about different projects.
So you mean the 90-day plans that you reviewed, right?
Yes, all of that is to have funding support.
Okay, good. Now, how did those 90-day plans get developed in the first place? This was my first meeting. I wasn't, so I need to be brought up to speed.
Yeah,
how
sure.
Did those...
We came together as a community in June for an in-person activation in Leilani Estates. From there, we've stayed in touch with community members that showed up then and have built our network of contributors. And so we've been having monthly meetings to orient community around this collective action framework. And we have been meeting as different capacity areas to take a look at the recovery and resilience plan, identify priorities, and really map out the actions we believe we can take as a group. So that's how we've been coming together, and we invite you to join us.
Okay, then I'll just skip over my other few from earlier. And because somebody brought up that last issue about sea level rise, and I was just wondering, is there any actual validated measurements made as to how much sea level rise there has been in our area or anywhere?
Well, generally speaking, the rate, I can't say it exactly to this current time, but what's projected out is about 3.5 feet through the remainder of this century to.
No, I mean measurements that have been made like up until the present time.
Not the data that I have at hand. I'm not sure about that.
Okay, so it's really kind of meaningless actually. So, okay, I'm done with my questions. Thank you.
I wouldn't say it's meaningless. I think projecting on sea level rise moving forward is a very critical component to planning. Amadeo Markov.
Yes, first I'd like to say thank you guys for this update. It's very illuminating. Of particular concern to our community has always been the allocation of funds being spent outside the directly impacted area. And recovery really, in our mind, is tied to that. I would like to ask a question relevant to that, which is, as far as ocean access, which is a huge component of the Puna lifestyle, other than Pohiki, are you looking at any other potential sites for ocean access? I know monies were allocated for a Halanui restoration, and with the restoration of Highway 137, it seems like that would be a good location to start to consider in earnest. And it was a huge percentage of the folks that interfaced with the ocean here went to that spot to do it. And there is not really a swimming area at Pohiki due to the changes in the geography. And I know that there is quite a bit of tide pools in front of a Halanui currently. created by this newest eruption. So there's federal funds already been allocated, and there's also funds from the state government. So is that something that you guys are looking at? And if so, could you share with us the plans?
Sure. Douglas and Ashley may have a bit more info on this. I know right now it's very focused on this coming down to the like what we covered today. From a water access perspective, I feel for everybody really hardcore down there. I think you know, creating that is critical. I'm not sure if anybody else has any exact details on it. I think right now it's been focused on trying to catch up on our side, trying to catch up on, you know, the direct infrastructure, and then re-scoping or reimagining how that access looks. But Ashley, do you want to add to that?
No, I think that's a good summation. We're going to use the next 90 days to kind of convene these conversations as a community and figure out all this federal money that has been made available. How can we put that to good use to build resilience and tackle a lot of the different challenges that we're facing, and just really bring that space back to life. So really invite everybody to contribute to that space when we convene meetings.
Zindo, I would like to add on to that real quick.
Please.
So Amadeo, you know, it's a misunderstanding that we were given money to rebuild a Halanui. Our original submission to FEMA was $30 million so that we could try to figure out like a way to recreate a Halanui or find another place, because we knew that Pohiki was basically the only water access. But after all of our conversations and everything else we went through, that figure was dropped significantly to, Douglas, you can help me on this one, but about like $4 million to what we have now. So everything that we submitted was to basically recreate and give us another water access point. And this is what we have now. This is what was approved down to us.
I see. I was under the impression that there was actually state money allocated to it as well as FEMA money. Didn't one of our congressmen supply like $3 or $4 million as well? I think Eileen would know it if it was.
So that's a really good question, Amadeo. I can help try to address that. You know, for the figures that we're talking about, these are under the FEMA grants, and all the FEMA funds have a 75% share from the federal government and a 25% share from the feds. And so when we talk about, you know, $4.9 million for Parks and Recreation for these kind of investments, that's overall cost. And that includes, you know, 75% of that coming from the federal government. And, you know, thanks to the work of many folks here on this call, the state legislature was able to provide us with resources to cover the county's local match funds for this recovery effort. But just for explanation or for clarity purposes, when we put out numbers, it's a total cost, including the federal and local share.
Does that help, Amma?
I was going to say yes. That's helpful. I can't wait to talk about this more in the near future.
I'm right there with you with the ocean access. Yeah. Okay, Douglas. Questions in the chat?
Sure. We had a couple questions about Ahalanui, but I appreciate folks bringing that up, and you know, Mo and everyone addressing that question. Sorry, I'm getting caught up a little bit. You know, Damon, you do have a question about how much money has been spent on the recovery so far and how much funds are left. We're actually working on a kind of end of fiscal year update that we put on our website. It's not to go over in this call now, but you know, Tom Callis and our team and I are happy to follow up with you on that question and also update the website for everyone's visibility as well.
I'm not seeing any more hands. So Douglas, if you see any other questions in the chat, I'll scroll to see if there's any traditional hand waving.
Right. So we do have a question from Brent. Is anyone available from law enforcement to attend some meetings? Do we know if HPD's future budget aligns with our plans? You know, I think if I'm understanding your question, Brent, you know, the police department could have a number of roles in terms of our community safety but we could talk with folks at the department to see if you have more specific questions on that.
Sure, and just to add on to that, we did talk with fire and police about the roads, you know, that were opening up and got their feedback on it, positive, etc. So they're on board, obviously, with the infrastructure improvements that'll be going back down to those areas. But if there's something specific to a meeting, as it said, reach out to Douglas and we can see what we can do as far as a direct meeting.
I do have a question for mass transit about 132. To my knowledge, there's no service of bus services down Highway 132. Disabled people without licenses still have no way to obtain food other than to ask for rides.
Yeah, that is correct. I believe with the lava flow, our access on 132 was cut off. So we are basically studying some enhanced services that are going to be in that area. Right now, we're looking at Leilani Estates, and then our next area to look at is how to get service back on 132, whether it be traditional fixed route bus or through our partnerships that we're working on establishing with Lyft and Uber using a demand response type of method. So hopefully by early 2022, we can have some revised service in that area.
Thanks, John. We'll move to Leah.
Aloha, mahalo. I was just wondering about the Highway 137 reopening. That's the coastline road, yeah, that connects like the former Four Corners to Pohiki. So if that road was to be open, I'm just wondering like what kind of, you know, thinking ahead that's going to open up a lot of areas along the coastline. And what is the county? I know with I'm assuming that's all state accretion lands. Who's like, is it their Kuleana then to monitor these areas for safety? If a lot of people, I'm just thinking of the long-term safety impacts and the impact on the Aina over there and just of the people. So with those, are we prepared as a community to open all of that space? Do we have the support needed to monitor and ensure it's safe for our community to be over there?
So the roadway, the alignment for 137 will be the existing original alignment, which would then go past a lot of private properties, will go past some state lands, would obviously touch some state lands that have now expanded further out. You know, with anything in Puna, it's hard to regulate, right? We will never have the police on the corner waiting. So I think that's a challenge that we're going to have to, you know, work with as we move forward as community, as government, etc. I just, you know, what's better, opening back up so we have that circulation, we have that access, or not. Administration felt that it was important to get that access back down through there. And then how we're going to manage that will be, I think, in collaboration. And I think we'll see how it's going to have to go. If anybody, Kaika, you want to add to that?
I understand that. I mean, I fully understand that the alternative would be not, but I think that when we're going into it, if we can really factor those, we need to have the state in these meetings, you know, or at least have somebody from the state involved with so many of this decision making, because it really is dependent on their support and their kuleana, or not from what Auntie Susie's saying, but yeah, I'm just thinking like we really got to factor this in because it's already out of control. We're not handling what we have now.
Well, and hopefully, you know, more circulation will help that in a way. And you know that we are having state conversations. I think don't want to overwhelm. I think it's about moving it down the line so we get the success that we want with those partnerships. So definitely very mindful of that and then some. We just have to just about wrap up. We're going to go to Smiley real quick, and then I think the last question.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
So as a resident of Kapoho that intends to return, I'm very excited for our quality of life, my family, to have access from Four Corners, which is our property, back to Pohiki, which my husband, of course, is a fisherman down there. And initially, when they proposed to not open up 137, somehow a bypass was created around the mango grove, which, you know, personally, my husband and the other fishermen, if they had difficulty using the mango road, which some of the larger boats did, they would use 137. So I believe the previous administration pushing against our reconnectivity failed us. And I believe that, to my interpretation, this bypass road is causing a lot of extra time and energy and money that I personally don't feel is necessary with 137 being reopened. In the context of 137 not being opened previously with the other administration, my family was going to deal with a dead end. As we know right now, we're dealing with drag racers and all kinds of stuff. We would have had criminal activity right at the entrance of our property. So I am beyond happy that anytime there's any kind of legal problems, criminal problems happening, say down in Wawa or Kapoho 132, if something comes up at Pohiki, which of course we all knew that there were issues that would pop up at times with criminal activity down at Pohiki, the police will have a 3-minute versus a 30-minute leeway to get to deal with the safety in our community. So for me, it is very, very important that 137 will be connecting us with the chances of PGV erupting, with all kinds of possible things. I believe it is going to be safety, and I am very, very happy to see that 137 will be realigned. The only issue that I can see is maybe some of the local fishermen might have a few more spots along the coastline to fish, which I think is a positive thing as long as it's managed well. Thanks.
Thanks, Smiley. You know, with any of these projects, it's challenging, and I think taking over from a previous administration adds to the challenge. I will say that I think it's personally, and I think we all feel it's very important to get water back down to Pohiki if it's viable and possible, which we believe it is. That route would be the alternate route through Pohiki. That's what's going to get water back down there. Going back around 137, I just don't think would have made sense. So give and take a little bit, and I think that's going to be that'll pay off dividends down the road for all the fishermen, and we open it back up and we actually have water activity. I think it'll be good, but I do understand what you're saying for sure. So, you know, with any of it, compromise, understanding, and try to maintain a positive outlook. We're going to close out on questions. We've run over time. I'm going to turn it back over to Douglas. Anybody has any additional questions, feel free to contact us. We're doing our very best to communicate. We don't shy away from anything. We lean into it. We want to hear it. We want to understand it, and just continue to move forward in the best possible manner. Thank you all for bearing with me through my segment of it. I really appreciate everybody. Douglas, you got the floor.
Great. You know, thank you, Zendo. Thank you, everyone, for the dialogue. You know, the chat was a lot, and we also kind of hear and want to acknowledge the concerns that are being raised as well. We really want to kind of look ahead in terms of not only the survey that we're offering to give folks a chance to weigh in on some of the projects that we've covered today. I think many conversations still to be had. I think roads we're focused on getting the job done, right? Based on where we are now. Water, we are, as Zendo mentioned, organizing a meeting to talk about the specific projects that we covered this evening with more detail, and really encourage everyone to respond to the survey so we have even more input on that ahead of our meeting on October 28th. Look out for details that we'll be getting out to folks in the community. And, you know, really the next steps on parks is to focus on this re-envisioning of Isaac Beach Park and Pohiki no question about the importance this place has had for our communities, and it's really come across in today's conversations as well. So really to focus on that, and then to look ahead at some of the other questions that have come up related to equipment and other potential investments in Puna's park assets. So, this was a lot to dive into today, and really appreciate everyone's open heart and contributions. As we work to close it out, this isn't the end of the conversation. It's really an opportunity to get everyone updated and on the page again, so we can continue the dialogue and working through this. So really want to appreciate everyone for that. And we'll hand it over to Leila to help to close us out.
Right, mahalo nui. Just thank you everyone for being here this evening to share in the recovery of our people here in Puna. It's really important. Thanks to all of you that are doing the hard work and volunteering your time, those that are out in our community. It's really important. Mahalo kia kua e na auma kua, mahalo e na aliomo kua keawe. Mahalo e na kupuna, mahalo e na makua, mahalo e ka lehu lehu. So mahalo nui to all of you. We close the Oli Mahalo tonight. Uhola ia ka makaloala, Kua ike alohala, Kuka ia ka haloala, Pavehi mai na lehua, Mai ko oku ia ka halawaila, Mahalo e na kua, Mahalo e na punala ea, Mahalo me ke alohala, Mahalo me ke alohala, Mahalo.
Mahalo, Leila. And as a final step, we love our Google Forms, and there's one more, probably the fourth or fifth tonight. We do have a feedback and reflection survey that Zoe has dropped into the chat. You'll see it in the email coming up too. But appreciate the positive feedback that folks have been sharing about this evening. We learn and we progress, and so appreciate any feedback you can also share. Again, we're always here to answer questions that you may have after this evening, and really looking forward to the work ahead. So I want to value everyone's time and contributions tonight, and have a lovely evening. Enjoy the luau stew.